started. We value your time, and everyone could take a seat, find a seat. Good evening, and I would like to welcome everyone, and we thank you for coming out. It's encouraging to see so many of you here tonight. So we just, again, we want to get started. We're going to jump right in. We thank you for your commitment to your community that you love just as much as we do. I look forward to a productive and respectful dialogue tonight. So with that being said, we'll go right ahead and jump in and get started. We do have a couple of rules for tonight. This evening, we would ask that anyone who would like to make a comment or have a suggestion or a question that you would sign in on a sign-in sheet. I did move it from the round table. It is where Ms. Chichester is standing now. It's on that table. Well, if you signed in on it and you do not wish to talk, that's fine as well. If you do not wish to speak, that's fine as well. That's okay. That's okay. Just so we can give everyone time if they have any questions, comments. So each person is asked to sign in. You will be given 3 minutes. If time allots us, you will be asked, and you will get an additional 3 minutes after everyone who wishes to ask a question or to relay their comment. You will have time again at a later time. For that, the respondents, if you wish to direct your question to an individual, please do so. If it's for council, we would ask that you would come to the podium to answer that question. If you have a question for administration, myself, Mr. Dieters, Ms. Dukestein will be on this side. We are here tonight to discuss the 1500 Galbraith building. That is our topic for this evening. So if your questions are pertained outside of that, tonight is not where we will answer or ask any of those questions. Again, we talked about the sign-in, and we would ask that you would be courteous to any other person who's here at the podium, as we will be courteous to each other. We're looking for a productive dialogue. So with that being said, whomever would like to come first with your question, comment, or concern.
Mayor, did you want to do that history thing first? Did you?
I don't have my phone.
It's on your, oh.
I don't have my phone. I do apologize. So first we want to do a little history with the 1500 building. So Mr. William Bill Dieters will come give that history. And following Mr. Dieters is when we'll go into the question and answer session.
So thank you. I'll try to be as brief as I can and try to be as accurate as I can. And I'm actually thankful that Mr. Brooks is here in the audience because he may have some of the history as well. But so the city first took possession of that property in 2009. It was part of an exchange with the school district. The school district needed some additional property when they did the renovations to the buildings. And so there were basically 1498 and 1500 was owned by the school district. They transferred that into the possession of the city. And then the city transferred some property to the school district and also did a lease on some property. I was not the law director at that time. I became law director in 2011. But our firm does also represent the school district. And I recall when that happened that there was very clearly told to the city at that time that the building was going to need some repairs. Like the city was aware that the roof was at the end of its useful life. And the city was also aware that in order to make that building to function as an administrative office and to be a recreational type center, it was going to take some improvements because obviously it was an elementary school and it was going to be, the use was going to be changed to a different use. Now, I've tried to do as much research as I can to kind of try to figure out where we were, but and what I could find out in 2017, there was an ordinance that council passed to solicit bids from the to tell the administration to solicit bids to only fix half of the roof, to demolish half of the building, remove and dispose of asbestos, and then there was some construction and some other paving removals and replacement that was going to happen at that time. The council passed that. It appeared that the mayor, Maureen Mason, at that time vetoed that. What I'm not sure is if whether or not council came back with another to override that veto. I can't find any legislation on that, but what I did find as part of that legislation was that council also wanted bonds to be issued to pay for some of the cost of that. There was a resolution that was passed in September 2017, Resolution 2417, that approved $10,000 for the payment to bond counsel to do the work, the attorneys to do the work to actually develop the bonds. And then there was an ordinance a month or so after that to actually approve the actual bonds to go out and to approve the contract to fix half the roof. So there was a decision to only fix the roof that was over the administrative portion of the building, not to fix the roof over where the gymnasium was on that side of the building. So the city at that point borrowed $276,000. They fixed the one side of the roof. They did not fix the other side. At that time, there was also an engineering estimate that was done to demo the other half of the building. And it was just an engineering estimate. It doesn't appear that it was actually a bid, but it was an estimate by JMA, which is the city's consultant engineers. And they determined that it would be roughly $470,000 additional to demo that other side of the building. I'm a little concerned about that, and this is just my own conjecture here. I don't know for sure, but they only had $45,000 initiated in that estimate for the reworking of the utilities. And it's my understanding after talking to people subsequent to that, that a lot of the sewer apparatus and the plumbing apparatus for the building actually sits underneath the half that would be demoed. So I'm not certain if the engineers at the time took that into account, but there's a lot of language in their estimate that basically says, this is an estimate. It's a rough estimate, and we'd have to know more once we dove further into the project. But their initial estimate was $470,000. The roof was half the roof was ultimately fixed. The other half was not. So the other half continued to leak or go into disrepair over time. It got worse over time. There was never any asbestos abatement done. And some of the other work involving the demolition, some of the paving and those types of things wasn't done because the other half of the building wasn't demoed. So that kind of takes us into like the COVID time at that point. So the city was provided some COVID funding from the federal government, and they had to encumber that money under a project by the end of 2024. They would be potentially have lost that money. So council did pass an ordinance, it appears, in December of 2024 that encumbered $820,000 roughly for certain projects. But one of the projects that encumbering went to was to put money aside for the actual work on the actual administrative offices. And when I look at it, I think it was like $225,000 of that $820 was for that purpose. Then at some point, I think Mr. Davis, or I think asked me, or I can't remember who at this point, asked me to say, hey, we need to kind of get off center on what we're doing with this building, what we're going to do with it, how we're going to handle it. So I, on that request, drafted a piece of legislation to establish an ad hoc committee of council. And if in that legislation it said, consult with architects, engineers, get public comment, so forth and so on. I'm a little fuzzy on this part of it, but I think it initially didn't pass. And then in the interim period of time, another council person brought legislation to direct the administration to stabilize the building, to put it in a stable condition, because there was concern that the building wasn't being used. It was a vacant building. Our insurance rates were going to continue to go up. And obviously, as it continued to leak, the building was going to get in worse shape. Another thing that's important to know is that now the entire roof has to be replaced again. because when you only replaced half the roof, then the water migrated back underneath the roof that was fixed. So now the entire roof has to get fixed, because only fixing half the roof has put us in a situation where the other half that was not fixed has now damaged the roof part that was fixed. Then the administration, from what I can gather, based on, well, let me back up. So at some point then I think council brought back the ad hoc legislation again and did pass it. That is, I think, in a committee at the present time. And then what I think has given rise to this particular meeting is because the city administrator had brought forward to city council a piece of legislation to actually contract with a contractor to remove the asbestos, remove the mold, and fix the roof and stabilize the building based on what the administration believed council's desires were based on that piece of legislation. I kind of think that brings us up to speed on where we are. There may be some little points or facts that I don't completely have mastered, but generally that's the story of how we got here. Okay? Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, a comment, or any ideas, suggestions to the 1500 building, now is their time.
Do we go up to the mic, or do we?
Yes, now there was a misunderstanding. Some people thought that was a sign-in sheet. If you just signed in just for attendance, there was two different purposes that I understood. People thought if you signed that sheet and you would like to address us, then the first name is on the list is Brielle Gaston. If you signed in and you would like to speak, but ma'am, feel free to go.
I'm Kathy Fisher, and my husband and I own 4 rental properties in North College Hill, and we're very picky about who lives in them. But anyway, my question is, how much money is available? Is it just there? I heard a number of 400,000 and change that was like a grant from the federal government. Is that correct? 400,000 and change
Are you meaning available for the
for
entire
this building? For the project. For the project.
It's 486. What's the exact dollar amount, Ms. Dukestein?
For the ARPA funds,
Yeah.
$483,000.
Okay, and then is there any other monies available? Is that all that you guys have to work with?
There are 2 different pockets of money that potentially can be used towards those to the building efforts, but it is contingent upon parameters and the direction that the building goes in. One is
Okay.
in the amount of 55,000 or 53,000, and the other is an amount of 100,000.
Okay, I've done development before, and I've done 50 to 60 renovations of single-family homes. I've built new homes. That doesn't sound like enough money to tear anything down, reroute sewers, anything like that. It sounds like enough money to stabilize the building. But, yeah, I mean, I don't have bids on it, obviously. I'm just spitballing it based on my experience, but things are getting more expensive, especially mechanical types of things. And commercial is more expensive than residential. So I don't know that you guys have enough money to be tearing half the building down and routing utilities and stuff. If you can even stabilize the building with that, I hope you can.
The next person I have on the list, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is King. I just been living in North College Hill for like 10 years. My concern is the building had a rec center. Is there any way we can take some of that fund and money and rebuild a rec center so we can have something for the young kids to do, so they've been in the streets and just run out there and not getting in trouble and everything? 'Cause that would be something positive to get involved with the young kids, a building for them, something to do, back to go to. We don't have that no more. They're just out there. So I think some of that money and funds should be like find an empty lot of land to build a rec center. They get to the kids, like they do rec programs like basketball, other activities. Like I know there's things, you know. I know when I lived in Michigan, they had like chess clubs and different stuff like that, pool club, and the rec center. And I think that would be a positive thing to do to take maybe look at to take some of that money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can you please restate your name?
Ellen King.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Is there anyone else, or are you going to read from the list?
Are you going to go in order or just whoever?
She has one list.
My name is Annalisa Clear, and resident in North College Hill for 23 years. So I remember before we acquired the building. I also worked as our city's recreation director in that other building every day for my job. I'm looking around, I don't see anyone else who worked in that building every single day. But I think it's important to note, and Mr. Dieters did give a great timeline of everything that was going on. But the reason that the decision by the mayor and then city administrator and council to vacate the building was due to severe environmental concerns in that building, aside from asbestos and mold. There is a full report that was done by environmental scientists that was delivered to the city in December of 2023. And due to that report, we had to basically vacate that building immediately. So yes, asbestos, yes, mold. There are concerns that were noted by this engineer with the HVAC system, concerns noted with electric. So there is a lot of work that has been needed to be done. So my question to administration is, based on the legislation that failed, I mean, there were some bullet points that were part of that agreement that was under consideration with RWB. I don't know if that fully encompassed making that building such that it can be functionally used. White box is not functional use. White box is a very specific term. So do you have, aside from what was presented to council as part of that legislation, a full report and a full estimate for fully restoring that building for functional use?
Ms. Clear, do you have a particular person that you want to answer the question?
Going back to the microphone so people in TV land can hear me. My question, I believe, would be for the person, whoever it was, and my assumption would be that it would be the city administrator, Ms. Dukestein, who worked with the contractors who have walked through that building, and what would be the full, because I noticed it skipped numbers. It was like line item number 3, line item number 7, whatever, I'm just off the top of my head. What was the full scope of what was presented, and how much will that cost?
Thank you, Ms. Clear. So to answer your question, the first quote and contractor submission that you brought up was the Burgess and Nyepel, and that was done in December of 2023. And they listed quite a bit of itemized things that needed to be taken care of in order to stabilize the building. So when the contractor that we were that's on the designated piece of legislation, they also assessed the building, and it says in the piece of legislation that was before council that it is based on and affirmed that is those are the bullet points that we want to make sure to stabilize. And I can read those off for you. It says, Section 2, The stabilization includes but is not limited to the following repairs: hazardous materials remediation, asbestos, mold, contaminant waste removal, roof repair and replacement, interior drywall and removal and replacement where essential, remediation and stabilization, replacement and removal of windows, doors, and seals with replacement, and a clean out of the HVAC system. Work based on Burgess and Nibel assessment dated December 7th, 2023. And so it isn't in this legislation, but it was in, and is in the contract, that they would do an additional environmental study once the work is complete to make sure that the safety of the employees that potentially would walk back in that building can walk back with safe, abated environment to remediate or take care of any of those things that were the reason that we had to evacuate we evacuated in April of 2024, I believe.
I think to help answer your question too, though, that's just to get the building back to the state that it was at the time that you left. I mean, I think you're also referring to that there probably, in order to get the building potentially to another space or to another use, there probably would be additional improvements at some point that would be needed, no question. It would. I don't know if council has ever indicated what they want to do with the building, so that. No, we don't. All his council did was to get the building stabilized, because they don't have a vision or a plan yet on what they want to do with the building in the future, right? So, you know, so we haven't. They have not asked the administration yet to go down that route of hiring an architect and determining, would you renovate the gym, do something else with the gym, add on to the building. None of that has been determined, so it would have not been something that you would have asked for, because we don't know what the scope of the plan would be. Yep.
Ms. Carrington, we're going to try to go by the list now.
Oh, you had
Okay, I'm
said
sorry.
there was no order.
It was, I'm sorry.
It's
We're going to
okay.
try to.
Should I write my name?
You should, on the sheet.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Next, we have on the list, Ms. Brielle Gaston. No? I'll move on.
Can I borrow your
I
pen,
can-
please?
Okay.
What's your?
Ms., I'm going to put my glasses back on and read. Did you skip? Okay. It looks like Sandra Ficker.
Flicker.
Ficker?
Flicker.
Flicker? Sandra Flicker. We have a Ty Albert. We have Terry Eilerman. Attendance, okay. Mimi Anderson. Donna Bruner.
Donna Bruner, I've been a resident in North College Hill for 5 years. My question is, the stabilization, when the building was evacuated, it was certain things that had to be done. Was it HVAC or certain things that had to get back in the building? Was it appraisal needed for that, or bids or something to get that done initially for the first step? Because before you tear anything down, do anything, don't you have to stabilize some of the mold or asbestos and stuff like that before you tear it down? I mean, even if it's just sitting there for insurance purposes, shouldn't it have been stabilized, or?
Yes, I want to make sure that you get your questions out if you want me to, and I don't want to take away from your time.
Ms. Dukestein.
Okay, so, yes, there were bids, and I'm sorry, let me not say bids. Yes, there were quotes that helped us determine a price point for remediating the asbestos, abating the asbestos, remediating the mold, and all of the things that needed to be taken care of in order to get the building to a stable space. And so that list of things that I just read off of the piece of legislation, that was put into the legislation as a requirement before we could ever even consider going back into the building.
So the legislation is on the floor for council, or?
The legislation was previously on the floor for council. It was voted down, so it is no longer on the floor.
Council
For
passed.
stabilization?
Council passed a piece of legislation asking that the building be stabilized, but it didn't specifically say what stabilization would be.
Oh.
And so the administration then brought forward a contract that lists those things based on council's initially saying they wish to stabilize it. But then when the contract came before council to be approved, council has not approved it.
Okay, so it was some kind of confusion about how to stabilize or what the stabilization went or something? Because
I don't know if you'd have to ask the people who voted on. I couldn't answer that question.
Sorry,
Next
that's
we
an
have-
indicator that your time is up.
Carl Clear.
So my name's Carl Clear. My wife back there, hopefully I don't say anything that you will embarrass you. If I do, I apologize. So, like she said, we've been here, God, over 20 years, 23, 25, something like that. I don't know, I'm not good with years. So I guess the first thing I'm gonna say is tear the damn thing down. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous, okay? So I'm going to go into some reasons why and what I want to really see, okay? So you'll have to bear with me. I've had some allergies, so I think I'm on the outside of it, but we'll see. So we'll see. So I've kind of cobbled some things together from Facebook and from council meetings. And I have quite a list of concerns, quite frankly. The first, there's toxic mold in that building. Toxic mold. You're not going to put some kills on it and then think it's going to be fine for children to play in. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And quite frankly, I don't care about previous estimates. Some of this stuff that's being quoted is 10 years old. The only thing I've seen is one study on Facebook that basically said, do not make any further investments in that building. And that's the whatever, Birches and whatever. Yeah, Birches and Naples. Sorry, my phone. I've got notes. So my question is what are the costs now? Get some valid estimates. I mean, I've seen stuff on Facebook. There's some sort of process that hasn't been followed for competitive bidding. I mean, to me, that safeguards everyone. That safeguards my tax money. It safeguards the city, right? I don't know if you've seen, but Cincinnati or Hyde Park or somebody's getting sued because the residents aren't happy with what the council did, right? There is always checks and balances. I should have, hang on, bear with me. So let's see here. So the other thing I've seen is, basically we need to spend $750,000, $750,000 to quote unquote stabilize the building and then figure out how much more it's going to cost. Are you serious? Nobody does that. I can't imagine UC saying, hey, let's fix this building
You have 30
and then we're going to
seconds.
figure out, I have time, is there a time limit?
30 seconds.
Well, no. You didn't tell me there was a time limit.
I read it at the beginning. I said 3 minutes.
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
Okay. So it's shady how the estimates have been done. It's slimy how the legislation and how it's been worded has been done. It is ridiculous. There is no true funding source. We need a new building. It needs to be efficient to heat and cool. No asbestos. All you're going to do is cover it up. When are we going to have to pay to have more covered up, right? We need a building that actually serves people. We need integrated Wi-Fi, updated electric, and an air conditioning system, fully ADA compliant. I was pissed off when I heard that,
That's
we're
time.
I don't care, that we're grandfathered into ADA compliance. 30% of this city is disabled. That is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. The people of this city deserve a building.
It's your time.
Fine. Stop half-assing this.
We don't mind if he continues to speak.
Nobody wants to hear what he has to say. If you're clapping, no one can hear.
To the To the audience, there was a public comment rules read in the beginning, and I just want to make sure that we're following this. The rules were not set to restrict individuals, and there will be another opportunity at the end to come back up. It was so that we can respectfully hear everyone. It's not to put you at a disadvantage. Mr. Clear, I don't hear a question in what you said. Did you have a question specifically, or were you just saying how you feel about it? Okay. Thank you.
I did hear, he asked, what's it cost now? I did write that down.
Okay. Well, I'll answer. Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
We have,
I just want to comment a little bit on that. I think it's important to stay factual, and I think there's some things that Mr. Clear said that are not factual. If the city would decide to abate the asbestos and the mold, it would be certified by professionals. It would be done by professionals, and you'd have a certificate that would make that building to determine it was healthy. So it's not people that don't know what they're doing. It'd be professional people who have license to abate, and they have to follow EPA rules, and they have to follow all those things. I think the thing, and I think there are some valid arguments for tearing the building down, and I think there are some really valid arguments for trying to save the building. But remember, if you tear the building down, you have no federal funding to do it. And it'll be about $600,000 to $700,000 now to tear the building down, and you will have to use your own money to do that. If you use the ARPA money, you could stabilize the building. It's purely what, it's whatever you all decide to do, whatever council decides to do, but the thing that you have to remember is that money is only available if you have what they call you have to have some product at the end of the day. So if you had the money to build a new building, you could use some of that money to tear the building down, but you'd have to have a project already in place and have funding in place to be able to use that money. So I think that's what it really comes down to, and that's kind of what the timing of the issue is for the community is, if you have this $400 and some thousand, which will pay for the cost of stabilization, do you use that money because it's not our money, and if we don't use it, we have to give it back? Or do you say, no, let's just leave the building the way it is. When we get the money, we'll tear it down, and we'll try to find some way to fund a new project into the future. I think it really is that simple.
Your time's up. Sorry.
next we have,
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I wanted to respond. I'm going to set my own timer. So I guess the part, it says in the piece of legislation that we were trying to ensure that the building is stabilized, it says hazardous materials remediation, asbestos mold, contaminant waste. So that's not just slapping keels on the building to remove the waste or to remove the contaminant portions of the building. That is actually removing what is there and making sure that it is safe. There is also a commitment to perform an environmental study. And then there's also a statement that you made about the proper process. So typically there are bids in a governmental process, but because we were using ARPA funds, and in order to not use the funds, when I personally came in as administrator, the process was already too far gone in terms of being able to spend the money to acquire that. So when we reached out to ARPA, we told them our circumstance, and they responded with how we were to legally navigate the circumstance. In order to go through a bid process, it would have had to have been a much longer process, and we did not have that time if we were going to be able to utilize the resources that we got, which is a lion's share of the resources to put towards remediating the building.
Hi, I just want to comment real quick. Hi, I'm Mary Jo Zorb, Bowman City Council. There is an article in on the Middletown's website where they clearly state that they tore down the old Champion Paper building, and it says that they used ARPA funds to tear that down. They used a $3 million grant from the ARPA funds to tear that down. So it sounds like ARPA funds can be used to demolish a building.
Did they say what they put on it? Because what we're being told is that you cannot tear down if you don't have plans to utilize or to put something else on the property. So
It says the Ohio Department of Development for the brownfield remediation.
That's why I was brownfield.
Brownfield indicates historical value, and that puts your,
Brownfield is a hazardous.
It's a hazardous.
okay, sorry,
That's why they were
I was
able to
thinking
do it.
about
But this
brownstone,
is
sorry.
hazardous because it has mold and asbestos in it, right?
Well, there's a difference. A brownfield.
And lead paint, probably.
Brownfield site has been determined by the EPA as being like a significant hazardous site, like Fernald, places like that. I don't think ours has. We don't have a brownfield designation. We just have a building that has asbestos in it and mold in it, as opposed to a major contamination of a large piece of property.
But we don't know that for sure, do we?
We're not a brownfield designated EPA site. I know that for certain.
Have we tried?
I don't know.
just, I wanted to go down a list. Did you sign in?
Okay, but I think you skipped well, you got my name. You
Is-
went through it, but I didn't realize that was the name for. I thought
There's
it was
only one
intended.
list over here.
Yeah,
What's your name, ma'am?
Sandy Ficker.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I know. I'll grab it when I get to the bottom.
Sandy Ficker. I've lived here since I was a kid. Came back. I live on Richard. Okay, this might seem silly, but it was a school at one time. I thought North College Hill owned it. Why did we have to purchase it? That's one question. And another question is, what is it going to be used for once it's all, whatever happens to it? It does, I mean, nobody's ever said this. Is it going to be a rec center? Is it going to be administrative offices? Is it going to be public works? Nobody's ever said this. If it was there's a purpose for it, I would be behind it. I would say, hey, maybe it is worth it. But if this was my home, a building is a building. It's got mold, it's unhealthy, it's whatever. I mean, the whole list, the whole gamut, no matter how much money you get to fix it. What is it going to be used for? And why did we have to purchase it since it was Clover Nook Schools of North College Hill? I don't understand that.
When I first got here, when we started, I explained that it was a property exchange. So the city, a property exchange. So
Oh.
the school district and the city exchanged some property. The school needed some property.
Buy it then with an
No,
exchange?
it was
or
an
is it
even
Oh,
trade.
okay, well, then that's fine.
I think
I
you're
don't think
asking.
most people know that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. I think what you're asking is a really good question about what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
That there's a piece of legislation that was passed. Like part of, I thought, what the purpose of tonight was to hear from the community what you want to do with the building. Do you want to tear it down? Do you want a rec center? What do you want to do? Because the administration, all they've been told by the council is stabilize the building.
Yeah.
Nobody has determined if there is a need or a use for anything. And so I think that's what you as a community have to decide. Should we fix this building and have a use for it eventually, or should we tear it down and decide later? I think that's really what it comes down to, exactly what you said.
But it's like if there's a purpose for it, maybe people would be more behind it if it could be fixed. It's one of these common sense things that I know there's a lot of money involved and getting grants and whatever. Don't get me wrong. I know red tape. It's psychological too. You know, if I knew it was going to be a rec center or if I knew it was going to be administrative offices, I say, okay, fine. Maybe it's a good idea.
You have 30 seconds.
But a lot of things have been too many open holes.
Ms. Flicker, The property was a land swap between the school district and the city of North College Hill, where they acquired the pool, the old pool.
Swimming pool that got
Yes.
filled in?
It got filled
gone?
in, so the school district acquired that, and the city acquired this building.
Oh, it was like,
It was a land swap, yes, that for this.
no.
The building at 1500, to get it stabilized, if it were
Time is up.
stabilized and we could utilize it, we could do some recreational things out of there just because of the gym. Before the leak and it really got bad, citizens would always rent it out. We had the theater in there, which most people know the theater would come in. So the dance studio, who right here on the corner of Goodman, her studio was in there, and there were other activities in there. So if it were stabilized until we got, now I don't know what a new building would cost, but I would say that it's up to $7-8 million, my opinion.
Do
To
what with-
build a new building,
Oh.
to build a new building.
But all the money that time and money we've wasted in the increase of cost of building and everything.
That's why it was important with the legislation that they had and the bid that we had, that we utilized that so that the cost wouldn't go up. Now, you are the builder or the person the company who was going to do the work for us. We've surpassed that time, and they've been gracious.
Yeah.
They've been gracious. So
Regardless. But
regardless, you could, if you used wisdom, anybody, if we got that building up to par, functional, not just for staff, citizens could use it. It could be recreation. There's a gym in there with the basketball hoop. We always want to talk about getting our kids off the street. They can come there, play basketball until the city gets to the position where council says, yeah, we do want to enter into a loan. We do want to do something, and then we can build from the ground up.
What? I mean, there's too many holes there. What is going to be done with it once you've conquered all the costs of getting it stabilized?
Well, one thing, our staff will go back. Our staff will go back to the building, which is finance. We have our administration offices. And then, we've said it before, the seniors get their entire building back, which extends their programs as well. They could actually have programs there. I foresee some levels of recreation. I know the rooms in the back could be utilized for different things, different classes. So,
Do we have anybody to have plans, a definite thing? I mean, you know what I mean?
yeah, I understand.
If we do things anymore, no offense to anybody, and it's been that way for a long time, by the seat of our pants. I think everybody knows what that means. I hate to be, but I can't specifically say, but I've lived here for so long, and we lost a pool, we lost a tennis court. It's hard to get things back. It's like the
Understand.
government, you don't get money back, or whatever.
All right, thank you.
So I appreciate you listening to me, and, hopefully, I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you. We have Gillian Willoughby, is that correct? Is it Jillian? I'm sorry, I can't read your writing.
I'm Jillian Willoughby, and I've lived here my entire life, almost 23 years now. And I've been following this whole process very closely because I'm really interested in government. And from what I understand, the legislation that was put before council that ended up failing said that it was an emergency. And that's why the bid process, they didn't go out to bid, you guys got like an estimate, is that correct?
It was called a resolution of urgent necessity, which allows you under Ohio law to, if you have an emergency situation, you can get quotes instead of going through a formal bidding process.
Okay, so then that's what was done, because it also had emergency. It was the declare necessity and declare an emergency.
The other emergency part was to avoid 3 readings at council.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if it was declared if we were trying to declare it an emergency, then why would we be using it for recreational space if the emergency is usually because of city resources being unable to be done?
The emergency was because every day that it sits, it gets worse. So if you wait too long to fix it, then potentially the cost becomes more.
Okay.
That was the emergency.
So, well, my understanding, what I looked up, it said that emergencies are typically because city resources, and I think it was discussed in a meeting that Public Works was unable to do something, and that's why we were able to put the emergency on there. I thought that was discussed in one of the meetings.
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
Okay. So if that's the case, then why would we be considering using it for recreational space if the main reason why that clause went through was because city resources were unable to be used? I think it makes the most sense to use it for our Public Works, Police Department, especially because there's an impound lot behind the building. I don't think, that we should be having kids go to an impound lot area for recreational. I think it makes more sense to have it near the school, if there's other options near the school, to make it safer for them, because that building is a long distance away from the school. And you'd be having little tiny people walking across the streets, and we have people getting hit by cars and people speed through those intersections, and I don't think it would be safe for kids to walk that distance, even with an adult, because things still happen. I think it makes the most sense to use that.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
You have 30 more seconds.
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
if I could respond to your comment, comment. So this is a walking district, even for the school district. So, I'm sorry.
Yes, it always has been.
Yes, so the connection to me saying that was that the students walk well past that building to get to and from school. So the entire district is a walking district. They walk to and fro, back and forth in the summer months, in the winter months, in the fall. So the distance for little people to walk isn't that far, especially if we're hinging on the fact that our school district is a walking district. And then the other portion of the question is, you said that, or the comment, you said that, why would we consider putting recreation in the building? Recreation is an idea that has been thrown out there. Tonight is supposed to be the night to determine the future of the building. But if the building is safe to walk back into, it's already preset for some recreation because it has a gymnasium in it, and that's the way it's been leveraged and used in the past. And so in the past, we had people rent, sports clubs rent out the building for recreational use. We had churches that used the building for church services. It has a full theater in it. There was a theater company that used the building for those kinds of services. So if we could get the building back stable, it is very feasible for us to consider those usages.
Okay, we have Mr. Chuck Hurt. He left. Ms. Zorb, you just signed in for attendance. I have James Taylor. I'll get you. Did you sign in?
I don't know. Are you breaking all the rules at this point?
My name is James Taylor. I've lived in North College Hill long time. First of all, I've been in construction for more than 40 years. I know what it takes to do what's been put forward here. I agree with Mr. Clear. The city's already wasted $200,000 on that building because I don't think y'all have any clue or thought what was going to happen if you only did half the roof. It's a flat roof. Why would you think that it's not going to seep water again? If we have $400,000 already, we wasted $200,000. That would have been the $600,000 already. My question is why put good into something bad? Mary Jo was talking about the Champion paper being tore down. They're rebuilding up there. Why can't we do the same? I mean, we can get grants just as well as anybody else in the state. I've worked in many schools where they've gotten grants to have things done, to have things fixed, portions tore down and portions rebuilt. Like I said, I've done construction for over 40 years. I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's nobody here that knows anything about construction. So how can you sit here? Do you know construction? If you do, I apologize. If you do, I apologize.
Mr. Wilson.
But you have to have somebody involved. When you have a contractor come in, you have to have somebody that knows something and not just looking at numbers and words. Because if you have no clue of what construction is, you're throwing good money after bad stuff. And you could realize, okay, we don't have this money, cut our losses and get rid of the building and build a new one. Do we need to build right now? No, we don't. But we need to get rid of something that is very harmful to the community.
What's his name?
If you have no idea what mold does, mold is going to continue to grow, and it's going to grow to the outside of the building.
You have 30 seconds.
If you don't mind, in 2017, I was present at the council meeting when the council chose us to fix half the roof. I got up at the podium and said, fix the whole roof or tear the building down. That's a mistake. And the council's the one that made that decision to fix half the roof, the 2017 council. So you got to understand that we are here because of something that happened that was done 8 years ago, right? So fixing half that roof was absolutely the wrong answer.
And I agree 100%.
Can I also point out, though, that same legislation said tear down that half?
But it asks for
it
quotes
does-
what you guys got.
But it also says recap half the building and tear this half down. Tearing this half down never happened.
That's right.
What happened there? That's my question.
You should have tore half the building down first before you fixed the roof. Because you got to redo the whole roof after you tear half a building down. You know that.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
But you can only do half of the legislation. You can't do half of the legislation and not all of it and expect to have something to improve.
Totally agree.
Is this where I read this section now?
Council chose not to do it.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay,
Mary
excuse
Jo,
me,
I
hello?
don't know the answer to that. I know that there is an engineering's estimate that was provided to council at the time to tear it down, and council never found the money to do it. And I don't know if you would have. I don't know if you would have had $500,000
Mr.
to
Dieters,
tear it
I
down.
want to, excuse me, if we could come back to order, please. I want to read, and, you know, whenever you read stuff and you hear things, it's subject to your own discretion. So this is a City of North College Hill Ordinance 14, 2017. In Section 1, it says, "The Council of the City of North College Hill hereby directs the city administrator and finance director to solicit, explore, and investigate financing terms favorable to the city for approval of the council and to solicit, explore, and investigate bids in the pursuit of said project. Council recommends that said project costs include new roof over the administrative section of the building, demolition of the building half at a point deemed practical at the point of the connecting breezeway, removal and disposal of asbestos, removal of construction debris, construction of a paved roadway allowing fire equipment to access the back of the building, and appropriate paving of land formerly under the demolished half of the building. Furthermore, council recognizes that this ordinance is not an authorization of funds, but an authorization to solicit bids for information. This is the piece of legislation that passed, but another piece of legislation never came in order for the funds to tear down the building. So this, where Ms. Zorb said, or I'm sorry if you didn't say that tonight, I do apologize, but where the conversation is that they were told to demolish, they were told to solicit funds for demolition, but never went back behind that and appropriated the funds for the building. I do believe that was 2017. that the bids and everything were given to them, but council never moved on action to tear down the building. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next person. I was president of council. I didn't bid on the roof. I was
Vote.
president of council. I didn't bid on the roof.
Vote on the roof.
I didn't vote, I'm sorry. I didn't vote.
Did you see, as president of council, you should have seen that paperwork come through you?
I did, and that's why I read it. I just read.
No, that you're saying that the estimates and all that.
The estimates, do I have it? They should have, but
They're there.
I'll be clear that the way that the administration and the paperwork came to you now, it didn't happen that way then. Sometimes it went directly to council. That came later when you put it in council rules that the legislation came to the president. Prior to that, the city administrator would send it out. I didn't always get legislation. So then council came and changed your rules and put it in your rules that all legislation would go to the president, and then the president would send it out to the committee as he or she seemed necessary.
Obviously, I can't speak to
Yeah.
it.
What I have a question about is that the council took out bonds and borrowed money for the $276,000. Why didn't
For
they
the
just
roof.
borrow enough money to tear the other half of the building down and fix the roof at the same time? That's what I don't understand.
So do you have the estimate?
Yeah, it's in a letter from JMA.
So the letter was dated August 7th, 2017, that the former city administrator, she's not here, but her name is on this document, Cheryl Long, sent and gave to council, and it gives the engineer's estimate. It lists, trying to skim through it, a Garland.
It's $470,000. It's in the second
And
paper.
then, yeah, one was 470,000. Another was, the total was $624,840,
That's
which,
with the roof.
yes, that she provided to council. And that's dated, her letter is dated August 7th, 2017. I can't tell you on a couple council members who are no longer here, they're on this particular email. So, we can, I'm sorry? I can remember from my email, it was Larry Williams and, Amber Bailey. They asked for it again, so I can't tell you. I was just on that email. I wasn't on the original that she sent out to council. But next we have Ms. April Taylor. No. Is it, oh.
I don't know if this thing's go as low as me. Oh, it does. So I have a question. I'll forgo all the other things that I would like to say, but I have a question by what you guys just said. You read what was written, you read the ordinances, you read whatever, and then you made the statement that council did not go any farther to pursue something. Can someone please tell me who's in charge that would say, hey, we need to get bids for this, or we need to write this ordinance, or whatever? Because there seems to be a lot of, well, this didn't do this, and she didn't do this. There's got to be a chain of command that I would think that we would, as a city, have written in our bylaws or city laws. I mean, I'm not a politician.
What occurred in that is council passed that ordinance that the mayor read, that said fix the half the roof over the administration building, tear the other half down. And the administration at the time, in 2017, went to the city's consulting engineers and architects and got an engineer's estimate, which is typically what you do initially before you go out to bid, because you just want to find out, is this even feasible, right? Like, so you get an estimate from an engineer. Engineer came in and said, well, based on what we know, and we don't know everything, but we would think it's be somewhere about $470,000 to tear the building down and about $270,000 for a new roof. Council at that time passed a resolution to actually solicit bids for the roof and to finance and set bonds out to borrow money to fix the roof. They chose not to borrow the money to tear the building down. And it would have been council's decision to do so.
So it's council.
Yes.
Is it a majority rule on council that decides this?
It would be a majority because they would have to authorize the funding. So first they would have to pass a piece of legislation to go get bids, to actually publicly bid it, not explore it or solicit or get information, publicly bid it. There's a whole process for that. And then they would have had to have found the money. And that's why I keep asking the question. There was a decision to borrow $276,000, and you had an estimate to say another $400,000 was all you needed to tear the building down, and nobody went forward and did that. And I think your question is a very legitimate, reasonable question. I don't know the answer to it.
And nobody here is going to be able to answer this question, but
8 years ago.
doesn't the mayor have veto ability? Like,
Well,
if you
the
were going to
mayor
say,
did-
hey, well, you're not going to do this and not do this.
Well, the mayor did initially veto that legislation.
Okay.
And said, no, I don't want to fix half the building. And council went over that mayor's veto and overrode the veto to fix the half the roof.
Sounds like we got a lot of work to do.
Well, that's the only thing I can think of, because there's a piece of legislation that Maureen signed that says refused. So the only way that could have happened, and I can't find that piece of legislation, Mary Jo, but council must have overrid that veto. Because otherwise you wouldn't have borrowed the money and the roof would have never got fixed. So it had to have happened.
Yeah, we can't do the anything past. We can hash this out and point fingers all we want to, but
Absolutely.
I have been almost 40 years in North College Hill. I've raised my children. I volunteered in this community. I still do things in this community. So how about at some point we start moving forward so that people will want to come in, so that businesses will want to come in. Look at Finneytown. They just bloomed. Look at the city of Hamilton. They were a desert, and they are blooming. There is no reason why, especially where we sit strategically in the county, that we could not have businesses thriving, plenty of places to walk to get dinner or whatever. There's no reason. We don't seem to be able to get in gear.
You have
So I
30
don't know
seconds.
if our transmission is broken or what. But we don't seem to be able to get into drive.
I think what you're saying is a very wise thing to say. We're here where we are. We're here. We can go back and rehash how we got here all day long, but you as a city have to decide what you want to do. That's what you have to do. Like, what do you want that space to be? Do you want a new building there? Do you want to renovate that building? What do you want it to look like? Do you want recreation? Do you want offices? I think that's what we're trying to figure out.
We need to be heard, though, and not things done behind closed doors.
Miss Taylor, I agree that we are sitting in a prime location, and we have lots of funds that will help us on the back end. Some of our funds we can't even activate that we would be eligible for unless we decide the fate of the building. Tearing it down would null and void some of those funds. So as we were sitting here, I was speaking with Mr. Dieters and also looking up the EPA, because Ms. Zorp said, hey, can we apply for that? That building is not in the condition that we would go in that route. Per the website, look it up for yourself. It's there, epa.gov/guidance. And so we have the distinction of trying to figure out what's next. And the building actually is salvageable.
Dan, did you want to say something? You forget
We have, it's one person before Dan.
Okay.
Miss, is it Aggie Brackman? Yeah, she was trying.
So my name is Aggie Brackman, and I've been a resident here for 22 years. I've come and gone occasionally with the council meetings, but I am a member of St. Vincent de Paul over in Westwood. We're very busy, and our meetings fall on the first and third Mondays. That being said, I'm thinking that we are not all looking at apples to apples. We need some kind of an estimate, number one, to completely tear it down. Number two, to renovate it separately and get a bid if we wanted to build a new facility. I worked for an appraiser, and when we did commercial properties, there was a guideline that the appraisers and realtors used in a particular area of the county. So let's say it costs $45 a square foot to build a ranch house. And if it went over, you called the builder and kind of gave them what for. There's also a process in that appraising where there are affidavits, if we have the money, and if we borrow the money, there are affidavits that have to be filled out that will tell the bank how much of the building is already completed. And maybe that's what we need to do, even with the tearing it down or renovating it. You know, that there's going to be some accountability. But I just think that we need to look at three separate pieces. It's not anymore this one big thing, because parts have been dropped and parts have been picked up. I don't know what my question is for you at this point. I really don't. I want to see North College Hill thrive. I know that there's a big, huge school lot at the old Josie Becker School. It's huge. And there would be parking. You could probably put a YMCA there. There's enough space, parking, facility, the whole 9 yards. So maybe we need to tear down that building and actually look at producing something else. There is also, and Mayor, I don't know if you were a part of the community of small town mayors. The city of Silverton has done a fabulous job. They created spaces with builders in mind and affordable housing.
You have 30 seconds.
Their corner, and I believe it is Montgomery and Plainfield Road. Yeah. People's property were bought. The people who were the owners still own the property. Their children will receive that property. And then there's retail at the bottom. Why can't we do something like that here? Thank you.
Dan.
Number one, you can forget your 3 minutes. This ain't gonna happen.
Okay.
Because he mentioned my name, so I figure I'm extending his
Well,
presentation.
you go last, then.
Okay, that's why I went last, right.
No, you're not
My name is
last.
Dan Brooks. My name is Dan Brooks. I'm the chairman of the Planning Commission. I was mayor for 30 years and council for 4 years before that. And if you want to blame somebody for getting that school building, I'm it. Blame me. So you can throw anything you want to throw at me. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but a lot of stuff is, and Bill did a good job in explaining the process. There's a couple holes that's the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. You all don't remember him at all. So, okay. In 2009, we were in discussions about the school, because the school was going to put a levy on, they were going to build a new school. What are you going to do with the old school? Well, at the time, and as long as I've lived here, and I've lived here 56 years, I have never not heard, we got to have a recreation center. We got to have someplace for the kids to go. All the kids got over, okay? And so the opportunity came up, and I will tell you what we based the decision to make the swap. In 2009, the Hamilton County auditor appraised that building at the worth of the school building at $6,470,400. That's building and land. The school was asking if we would be interested in it, and I asked Mr. Gellert the same question, so it's a very mutual conversation, that if we could go and if he could have the land that contained the old Public Works building. Now, so you know, the Public Works building had so many OSHA violations and code violations, that's a wonder we didn't get sued going in. But the big item was that property and building was appraised for a whopping $28,500. So we were looking at a difference of roughly $6,250,000. That's a little bit of a change, and I consider that a pretty good deal. Now, that didn't mean we're going to get just that, because we had to build a Public Works building, and we had to do some renovations. So, the Public Works building and all this other stuff cost $239,364. We're still pretty good. We're still making, we're good for about $6 million.
You have 30
Still a pretty good
seconds.
deal. No, I don't. I told you, put the clock away, man. It ain't gonna work.
Mr. Brooks.
We have to come, you can come back.
No, I can't. I'm not coming back. I'm making my presentation now. Thank you. I will. Okay. I'll be respectful, but I'm not gonna go off in 30 seconds. Here's the issue. It was a good deal at the time, but everybody knew that roof was gonna have a problem. So that gives you a little bit of a background of where, and I'm an architect by profession, so any of you who don't know what I do, now you do. We did several studies of that school. We were able to do a whole new police department back there. We were able to do council chambers, all the administrative offices. We were had a Sally Port. You'll know what that is. The whole thing was set. Plus, the idea was to have a recreation center and an education center. And Jamie Mahaffey, who was coach of the football team, we formed a committee. We came up with programs, and that was the deal. We were going to have education programs for adults and kids. We had plans and programs that included parents and grandparents getting together with the kids and cooking in the kitchen over there, and then serving meals afterwards, so that people start talking to one another instead of at one another. So, that gives you the background. Now I'll be nice. I came here thinking that this was an informational meeting of what we want, and the administration and the council and whatever want to know what we're going to do with the building, right? Well, I'm going to ask a real simple question. What the hell do you want to do with the building, people? I'm just going to ask two questions. Number one, who wants the recreation center? Who doesn't? Okay, well, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Who doesn't? Who wants to tear it down? Okay. To those who ask about a recreation center, let me ask this question. How much are you willing to pay for it? How big a tax levy will you support? How big a tax levy will you support in order to pay for the new recreation center? Because
Guys, let him talk.
all I'm asking, I don't care what the vehicle, how much, because it's going to cost you. We've gone through this before. I thought, and it was my mistake, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I thought, based upon everything I've heard from everybody out there, we got to do this, we got to do that. That recreation center, we got to have. When we started getting into it, we said, well, it's going to cost you about $50, maybe $60, maybe $100 a year, and we got to have X number of people to support that. We got to staff it. We got to run the programs. We got to do this and that and the other thing. And I got about 20 responses. So somebody mentioned the pool. I didn't like closing the pool. That was my fault too. But we were losing $75,000 a year cash on that pool. Because why? Because all these people have said, oh, we got to keep that pool, got to keep that pool. The pool was great in 1955. It wasn't great in 2005. We were losing money big time. You know how many people, how many citizens, all the ones that were really up there, throwing the ball? You know what? The average membership was about 15 people. And those 15 people in the city of North College Hill had to pay for filling the pool. If there was even one person there, we had to have lifeguards. We had to repair it. And one of the council members who grew up here too was sitting in the back, and she can verify we sweat blood making that decision. My wife didn't talk to me for a month. But part of the exchange to the school was, yes, we filled in the pool. Yes, it disappeared. But the agreement is that we built a park. It has to stay green forever. And a Shaper Park. Right? So that's the deal. That fills in all of the blanks. Now, I had this big dream about, having a recreation center and all that stuff. You got a lot of money over there, and I think the decision's got to be made. What I would suggest is this. You've got bids and you've got prices, and we don't know how or where or whatever. I'm not going to debate the legality, illegality, whatever it might be. But please, go back, take a deep breath. Number one, and this is not an advertisement for me because I won't do it if you even ask, get an architect. Burgess and Nyepel was a very good architect. They're probably the best in the Midwest. You got a report on what was wrong, but you didn't get a bid. You got one bid that I know of, and maybe you got three, but you got to get. But don't have people bid on a review. Get drawings. Get a plan. How much will it cost to do, if you're going to keep it, how much would it cost to get the thing fixed up? Then the other option is to tear it down. Somebody mentioned it's going to cost some money to tear it down too, so you got that. But you also, to do that, you got to have definite plans. Get definite plans. Then put the thing out for 3 bidders, and let's see what happens. And then, in the meantime, what I would suggest, another suggestion is, you got, not counting everybody running for council or whatever here, you've got about maybe 20 people here. You got 6,000 people in the city. Send out a survey or send out a. Oh, okay. Well, but whatever. Do whatever. Just get it. That's what I would suggest. And as far as the brownfields go, if you don't mind, the planning commission will look into that, and we will get back to you, because I'm not necessarily in agreement that you can't do that.
Hey, Dan, I think part of the problem that we're up against right now, because what you're saying, I've been saying that to council for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think the friction right now is that you have that $400 and something thousand that you could use to get, because no matter what you do to the building, you need a roof, and you need to get the asbestos out of there, you need to get the mold out of there.
Right.
So the downside to it is, if you just wait to see, then you would be giving that money away, and then at some point you'd have to spend whatever project you do, you'd have that additional $400,000 you still have to deal with. So I think that's kind of the necessity of time right now.
Yeah.
Additionally, I've been attending meetings with other city administrators.
Yeah.
And so what I've been able to do is watch other communities, like, I cannot remember the young lady's name that came forward and talked about how other communities are thriving. Plenty of people have gone forward with projects that they didn't have an end game for. For example, in somewhere past White Oak, there is a building with a multi-purpose. It has restaurants in it. It has like rock climbing. That is yielding their community so much money. They did it step by step. They held a community forum very similar to this, and then they talked about next steps, because the dollars don't always allow you to make all the decisions up front in today and the way that the grant dollars are going. So because of that, we have a unique opportunity to not lose the building and to choose a pathway forward with it. And so when you look at some of the other trends and the successes of what other communities are doing, they're leveraging less concrete plans. I know that feels uncomfortable, but it's super trendy and it's working for a lot of those communities.
So, Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We need to move
Really?
on.
Please?
We need to move on.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but I would say, I
Okay.
would say this. You know, we talked about, you know, what happened in 2013. We talked about what happened in 2017. We talked about, okay, that's all past. That's water on the bridge. We got it now. Now we got it. What are we going to do now, today, tonight, tomorrow? And Bill, I agree with you. You know, I think I've come to the conclusion after talking to a good friend of mine and that probably if the numbers are obviously you got to get some numbers, but I think you really need to consider tearing it down. And believe me, that breaks my heart because that was my big dream. But the dream is not there anymore.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Brooks.
Thank you.
We'll have Mr.
For
Aaron
allowing me
Wallace.
to go on a little bit.
You just a rule breaker. Just a rule breaker. We'll have Mr. Aaron Wallace and then Mr. Victor Wilson. Our code enforcement. Yeah, I am. I am. He needs to leave, I believe.
Hello, citizens of North College Hill. My name is Aaron Wallace. I'm the newly minted code enforcement officer here to provide you guys with support in the community as far as beautification and you know, tall grass, trash removal, all those good things. But I would like to say start off first with the 1500. First, I would like to address the guy who said we don't know, anybody here doesn't know anything about construction. I do. And okay, so I would like to start with for 1500 use, it can be used as a multi-purpose building. And I would like to piggyback off of what Mr. Brooks has stated. We have to come up with a plan for the building and submit it to our zoning director for approval or denial. That includes potential upgrades, repairs, alterations, as well as demolitions. Plans has to be submitted by an engineering firm or architectural firm that details the use of occupancy, repairs, materials, costs, and etc. that pertains to the building obtaining a certificate of occupancy. Okay. One of my things that I have, if the building is tore down, where will Public Works go? But how will they use that energy that's in the building that's trying to get tore down? So you would have to build a whole new sewer line and a whole new electric line. Man, you have to do that first in addition to tearing that building down. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Who said no?
Is there somebody actually working in there? Not that building. There's a separate Public Works building in the back.
Okay.
Remember when Dan said they lost the Public Works building?
I'm not
There was a
taking
new
time no
building
more.
built in the back.
Okay. And to piggyback off what Ms. Zorb said about the paper company in Middletown, the reason why that ARPA funds were granted to them, it was granted by the Butler County commissioners, and that building was sitting vacant for 20 years before it caught on fire. So it's not like, oh, well, we have funds. No, the building was sitting vacant for 20 years, and then a homeless man set that building on fire. So now it's a need for emergency demolition. That's where the funds from the Butler County commissioners provided them with $2.27 million of the ARPA fund, of the $3 million ARPA funds that were used In addition to just at the beginning of last year, they needed an additional $1.5 million from the residents. So like someone said, yes, it could be a plan, but things are going to come up to where additional funds will be needed. So everything is not always going to be set in stone or concrete. And like I said, I also want to piggyback off after Mr. Dan Brooks about proposing a levy to the residents. Money isn't going to come out of the sky and just fall into your lap. It has to come from somewhere. It has to. It has to come from the people. And I've heard people talk about different neighborhoods. Just let me give you a quick little fact about the other neighborhoods. Okay, so Hyde Park. I heard somebody say Hyde Park. Do anybody know what the median income is of Hyde Park?
Mr. Wallace.
$110,000.
Mr. Wallace, your time is up.
Guys, come on.
To end my point, I would just like to say, in order to get things done, we need help from everybody. Everybody, not just, oh, I have this, I have that. If you are part of the solution, or you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Thank you.
We have Victor Wilson.
Good evening, North College Hill. Councilman Wilson here. I am the chair of Recreation and Community Development. I'm gonna make this short and sweet. It is gonna cost us $789,000, I believe, to put the building in a stabilized condition. We need to do that. We have to stabilize the building. That way the building is no longer taking on any more damage. Once we get the building stabilized, people, we can actually sit aside and figure out what it is that we're going to do with the building. The reason that is the process is because that's just how it works. You can't jump the beat. I wish my son came out and was walking at day one, but he wasn't. He actually had to learn how to walk. And at the end of the day, North College Hill, we have to learn how to walk again. Right now, our city is laying down and we're crawling. And we do not need to crawl anymore. We have plenty of potential here. We have plenty of things that we can do to invest in our community. We are the heart of Hamilton County, but people drive right through us like we don't exist. I'm not happy with North College Hill being a home where everybody just come here, go to sleep, and then get up and leave to go to work and go outside my community to do every simple thing. Recreation, getting good dinners, doing exercising. Listen, it's aggravating. North College Hill is more than just a spot on the map. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the steps that we gotta take. Why are y'all beating up this administration by doing what we asked them to do? We did. They did do it. They've been repeating themselves for the last 9 months, and they keep repeating themselves. At the end of the day, the decision is the smartest decision ever, and the smartest decision ever is to put us in a position to where we can find the money to get us what we want. We want a new building, but if we don't have the money to do it, why are you asking me to come to my taxpayers who's already struggling with half of the bills in a house? Listen, that's the money that we're trying to use. We're trying to use what we already have. Why are we trying to dig in the taxpayers' pocket again? I don't want to go there. What I want to dig in is the money that we already gave administration to fix the building.
We have Larry Blythe. You just signed in. Kangora Jackson.
Good evening. I had a few questions. Some of them have been answered. My first question was the purpose of the building, but it doesn't look like we have a purpose. It looks like we're just going to wing it. And that sort of relates to fixing half the roof. To Ellen King, I do agree. We do need a recreation center. That is a definite. But what does that include? That also makes us have to hire staff. You okay? Yeah. Volunteer, I mean, but we would have to employ a group of people to run a recreational center, and that's just not what we're doing right now. Second, I want to know why we can't use those funds to like rehab a different building for another purpose. Does it have to be specifically that building? Don't we have a firehouse that needs some work? Do we need another building that needs some, and just tear it down? Let's start all over. And I thought that's what we were doing today. I thought we were coming here to decide what we wanted to do with the building, but it appears that we're just going in a circle again. Nobody knows anything. We got this. We still don't have all the answers. So why are we here for this town meeting? But we also agreed that we wanted to have some answers. So at this point, we still don't have any answers, Mr. Wilson, to even make a determination. We got people sitting up here. Some people want the building torn down. Some people want to rebuild. But there's not enough information to even make all of his determinations. So why are we here for this town meeting? Does our vote count right now? We raised hands. The majority was tear it down. Is this the end of the meeting?
But whatever we do, whether we tear it down or stabilize it, it does have to go through a bidding process. Am I right in my?
No.
The whole investors out of it?
So that's my question.
I'm saying that would be a first step.
You, Donna, I have no idea.
Oh, Ms. Jackson, your time is up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was up here that long. All right.
Next, we have Kathy Carrington.
All right. Oh, boy. Hey, y'all. Hey. So, thank you for every single person who came out tonight. I have been begging council since February of 2025 to hold a town hall to discuss this building. So thank you. Now, a couple of things that, because we've covered a lot, but let's really get to the meat of where this city needs to go. Today is September 29th, and we've really got to push things into motion. I hear a lot of shift of blame. I've been here, my kids are 7.5. I've been here 7.5 years. I don't want to hear about who, when, what, why did not. I want to hear about what we're going to do to fix it. If I get a new job and the person before me did not do, I cannot go back. I have to look forward if I want to give a good impression on the people that I serve. That's to every member on this council. Even if you nod your head, look me in the eye crazy, it doesn't matter. You all serve the people in this room, elected or appointed. Mayor Nichols, you were elected by the people in this very room. So please listen to the people who elected you not once, but twice as mayor of North College Hill. Please do not think that just because they don't agree with you, their opinion doesn't matter, because it does. So council, stand up. Mayor Nichols, stand up. I want you all to see Ms. Chichester, you currently are sitting on council. Mr. Wilson, it's okay. Turn around and look at your audience. Look at the people who have come this evening. Do you all want to keep this building or tear it down? Raise your hand for a tear down. Do you see the people in this room? And thank you so much, Ms. Gaston. There are 62%, so backstory. Ms. Gaston went before council in March of 2025, and she asked council to permit her to pay for a survey. Many of us, including myself, took this survey. 62% of the constituents in North College Hill said tear it down. Tear it down. Why are we here if we're not listening to the people that we serve. So this is my charge to council. You hear what your constituents have asked. You hear, even if you don't agree with it, you hear what your constituents have asked. It is now up to you all to come back, and Ms. Underwood and Mr. Davis, it's now time for everyone to understand who you all serve, your mission, your purpose, put everything to the side. It is about the 9,000 people here in North College Hill.
Puritan, your time is up.
I just want to encourage you all to listen to the people, even if you don't agree with them, the people that you serve. Please don't put your head down, because honestly, sir, that's a little bit disrespectful to me, but that's fine.
Ms. Puritan,
Yes, sir.
your
So,
time is
yes,
up.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Listen to the people you serve.
I would like to state, she said 62% of the citizens, or the people who took 1%. Well, actually, that survey was never seen by administration until now, just now. And from my understanding, there were only 125 people who took it. You need at least, for the size of our city, at least 385 for it to be a valid survey. And no, I did not, because
I took the
I
survey.
can't tell you what she did. The way that it was distributed, I'm not on that platform, so I didn't. I'm on the platform, but not that site. So it was not distributed to the entire city, from my understanding. So when you say, I want to be clear on the 62%. What is the 62%? You mean of the people who took the survey?
No, ma'am. So
She says
No,
yes,
no.
and you said,
look at the results. Look at that chart. It says, and I don't want to be out of order, but if you will allow. This says, and granted, there were 128 people who took it. I apologize. There were 128 people who took it, but Ms. Gaston went before council to ask for the funding of the survey, and there was back and forth with that, right? So that's, again, bridge under the water. But for the people who took the survey, yes, there's a small percentage, but for the ones who did, they have voiced it. So now we have the survey results. Now we have in person. What else do you all need to know what your constituents would like? I've not seen, and for a matter of fact, there was a request to put the survey in the newsletter, and it never made it back in March, and we've had 3 this year. So this is not a blame game. This is about what we want to do to move North College Hill forward. Whoever said it, you're right. Springfield Township is booming. College Hill is knocking on our door like, yo, North College Hill, catch up. So yes, this survey is there. Council paid for it out of their budget, if you took it or not.
I'm not sure that it came out of council's budget, but however it came out of the city budget, that survey, not saying it's not valid, but it does not reach the entire city. You have 1% of wherever it was distributed. In order for us to consider it valid, it would have to go out to the majority of the residents, whether it was in the newsletter or not. So
my charge is still to the people who are elected and appointed in this room. That's our mayor and that's our council. The charge is with you all. You hear what your constituents want.
Thank you, Ms. Kirsten.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss, may I speak to that? So I have a hard time when you put things out there that are not true. So the survey, per an email, was said that it had 125 survey takers. Because the survey results were not released, accountability and transparency is the theme of a lot of your words. So that goes both ways. A survey that does not, think about that, 125 people, that even the 1.4 is based on 9,000 people. I can tell you the last survey census that we had is 9,662 people. So if you can give merit to 125 people,
But you dismissed 662 people?
Excuse me.
So
excuse
what
me,
what I'm saying is the estimate or the statistic, or I'm sorry, the percentage that was based on 62% was based on either 125 or 128, as you said, and 9,000 residents. The 9,000 is not a true representation of how many citizens we have in the city. And that is such a very small amount of residents. If you look at what survey rules, how you apply that, that information is not significant enough where we could take that away. I do understand that people's voices need to be heard.
Well, I guess I think I want to go back to what Mr. Brooks said, and I think he might have left, but you know, well, here's where we are, and that's why I thought it was the history of it was so good. We've gotten into this thing of like pointing fingers and going around circles right now, but what we have on the table right now, council passed a piece of legislation that told the administration to stabilize the building. The administration then took that direction and got an estimate to fix the roof and do the abatements of the materials in it. If council doesn't want to do that, then it is council's responsibility now to say, tear the building down and pass a resolution. A lot of fingers are getting pointed at these two individuals. To my point, they did what council asked them to do. They really did. And so it's up to council. It's your council. You voted them. They decide. Council has to make that decision on what to do to the building. If they want to vote to tear the building down, then that's what we'll do. You just need to be aware that if we do it, we're given $400,000 back, and that's okay too.
We'll move on. Susie Whitlisbach.
Hi, my name is Susie Whitlisbach, and I've lived here 20 years. Can y'all hear me back in the back? Okay. So I have a couple of concerns, and I'm going to start off, and it's going to sound really strange, but I kind of feel like a boiled frog, okay? So how you boil a frog is that you put it in tepid water and you slowly turn it up, and that frog won't know that it's being burnt until it's burnt, okay? If you put it in boiling water, it's going to jump right back out. So what I've been hearing so far about the city center 1500 building is you have to crawl before you walk. You have to do this before you do that. Every time we have asked for what the total thing is going to be, we're like, nope, nope, nope. We have to do this little bit first. Then once we get that little bit first, then we could do the other little bit. Well, here's the thing, is that we don't know what the total cost is going to be. Because if we're trying to figure out, oh, it's too expensive to tear it down, how do we know? We're not getting a comparable how much it's going to cost to resell. I'm sorry, I lost my capabilities to talk. I apologize. Rehab it. Thank you. And then my other question being is that you're talking about when you're doing the work on the building to get out the black mold and to get out the asbestos. When you tear down the walls, because I think you mentioned, Ms. Dukestein, that part of what they're going to do is tear down the drywall, take the drywall off. Once you take off the drywall, are you going to be seeing if there is the knob and tube wiring, if that needs to be replaced? Plumbing, is the plumbing going to need to be replaced? And also, I've mentioned before, and has been mentioned tonight, about being ADA compliant. And when I mentioned it before at the meeting, a couple meetings back, you mentioned, oh, we'll be grandfathered in, like you were glad that you wouldn't have to worry about that. That's not appropriate, okay, at all, because I think it was also mentioned tonight that a lot of our citizens are having a disability and would like to be able to use a city center. So, not great. So, and then also too, we keep talking about ARPA funds. Is there any other funds you've looked at? Okay, have we done any other thing to look for grants that could help us? Because I hear all the time of our malls being torn down and doing something else with them. What funds are they using? What have you reached out to these other places? Because there is got to be other funds to help with the ARPA funds. You mentioned that there's other things that you've looked at that if we tear it down, it would nullify the other things you're looking at. It sounds to me like you are dead set on keeping the building and that you're gearing all this information towards the goal that you want. But that's not what the city wants.
Willis-Bach, your time is up. Thank you.
So to respond to Ms. Susie's statements, yes, I have looked at other funds. And so when you're meshing government and private funds together. So when you think about malls, that's private funds. When you think about government, those are grant-infused resources. And yes, I've done what I can to look at a plethora of resources that we would be able to institute. And you're right, in some ways, we're not able to apply or go after some of those funds because there isn't a direction on the building. And so if we're tearing it down, most governments want to see something stable on the other side of that. And so if you're tearing it down, that does not equivalize stability. You have to have more of a plan to be able to access those funds. So one of the things that you commented on was that it seems as though I am focused on an outcome. So it's not just me that's focused on an outcome. You have to follow the way or the nature of what grant dollars do. First of all, grant dollars are for nonprofit and government entities, not for-profit. And a lot of those grant dollars that are allocated out through Hamilton County or all of the spaces, they have specific things. If you look at Hamilton County's website, they usually have the list of grants and the qualifiers within that how you can see if our city would be able to apply for those resources that are out there. And typically, if you do not have a stable end, like just to tear it down, which is why I have not been looking in that direction, because dollars usually don't equate that way. So one of the things that they talked about was the EPA. I looked at that while we were here. I mean, that says to you right there that I'm trying to see if we would qualify. I didn't just say that to or look at it just to disqualify or go in a different direction. I looked at it to see if our city would meet the requirements of being able to apply for some of those funds. And according to our law director and what I read here, we cannot. So Mr. Brooks said that he would allow the Planning Commission to explore that. I invite that. If that's something that we can do to deal with the problems at that building. But what I will say is that we have gotten the quotes and the building can be stabilized.
Erica Underwood. It's not young. You have to go to the podium. Never mind. Ms. Brownworth left, I believe. We have Matthew Shad.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, city staff. I do have a couple, just for my sake of keeping up with the state of play. On the ARPA, what in the way it was granted, just a couple things from my head, because I think what we're trying to do is try not to waste money in our hands, try to solve a question that's going to be long and contentious and has two very established camps going in the opposite directions. Was the ARPA clearly designated as a must-fix project? It must, and like names building. Is it that clearly linked as a person of grant-making expertise?
It is, the language is must, not must. It's ends in restoration.
Ends in restoration. Does the restoration have to, is it, in a sense, a leverage project that you have to show the complete space to get to restoration? It cannot be partial phase one kind of thing.
We can use partial phase one to restore if we are completely stabilizing the building, which is why we sought out what we needed to do to stabilize the building, plus with the intent of wanting to see staff back in the building. We want to make sure that the environment is safe for them.
And I guess timing of due, what do you have to commit by when?
We were already supposed to commit, and we are the end of this year.
Okay, so you have to know a plan before the end of the year. And is there any promise to how long the stabilized building needs to exist after completion?
No, which is why I said to them, there are options, which is why we wanted to hold the town hall, because by there not being any progressive plans, we could stabilize the building. I've said multiple times in committee meetings and council meetings that if we decided after that we didn't want the building, we would open our options up to selling it and having more liquid cash to do other things. For example, somebody mentioned the Becker property. That's not our property. That belongs to the school, so we would have to purchase. But no matter what, we don't want to come out only spending money. We want to come out possibly stabilizing, even if we sold or did something else with it, so that we could come out on the winning side.
On the time, before I set a diatribe off, what do I have? How much time? 50. Okay. I think one of the challenges here is, I think your challenge is you're trying to keep $400,000 and use it. I think there's a problem challenge in maybe amongst the audience about what stabilization means. My credentials, which we stabilize buildings in my department every day at the City of Cincinnati in the building department. Stabilization does not always lead you to a conclusion. It only leads you to a moment. Usually something that potentially means it's not occupiable. So what I guess the question is there maybe a way that council and the administration could find the path to potentially focus on the remediation, because the remediation will be a part of save or demolish, no matter what. You have to spend that money, have to spend it every time. You will remediate asbestos. If you keep or demolish, you will possibly have mold, you will have disposal costs, you will have a number of those pieces. Potentially, I'm not
Your
saying
time
I've
is
done.
up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hopefully there's maybe a path to split the baby. To try, I'm not asking you to answer, just hopefully look at maybe there's a way to do the remediation project, maybe some of it stalled afterwards, and then allow the bigger conversation for the long haul. But it would be nice to spend $400,000 to get rid of the asbestos.
Thank you, Mr. Shad. Ron Mosby.
Ron Mosby, I'm a resident. I just have two questions. My first question is, with the ARPA money, what is the deadline date that the money has to be used by before it's returned?
The end of the year.
So December 31st.
We have to put that money towards a project and start the project before the end of the year. Now, if the project persists past December 31st, 2025, we can still make sure that the money is paid out towards it, but
if there's no project started,
we have to
give
it
it
back.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, what does the comprehensive plan that we spent somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000, what does that recommend regarding that building?
The comprehensive plan does divert us away from the building. However, again, as I said, we have to come out of this ahead and not behind. If we demolish the building, we are completely absorbent of that cost. Whereas we can sell the building, and it is not so when we stabilize the building, because one side of it will stabilize to the extent that we will white box. The other side will stabilize, where we would be able to go back into it temporarily until we figure out. So I think everyone's kind of wrapping their heads around the idea that we get rid of the building and we're one-tracked on that. But you have to remember that was our municipal space, our administrative offices. We don't have administrative offices right now. This is a temporary space where we're not big enough. I've got files right now sitting in a hallway that are unsecure because we don't have room for them. And I understand that we're listening to the community, but we also need to listen to the problems that are going on in this building.
And the only reason I asked the question is because if we did do this plan that we spent money and asked people for, you know, I would think that the idea would be that not just administration, not just mayor, the council would endeavor to really follow what that plan is. They do have a choice, but if we choose not to follow the plan and we don't have an alternate plan, then we are going to end up exactly like this, where there's a small group of people, less than 1% of our population, who are raising their hands about what? And half of the people said we want to demolish, and half of the people said we want to renovate. And which means that we are still at the place where we were 10 years ago when we've done nothing. So I think my point is we elect a council to take action, and I personally would recommend that we look at the comprehensive plan, consider what it says, look at where we are, and look at that as being the opportunity to now actually get into the plan and begin to bring it to fruition. So that's it.
Thank
That's all
you,
I have.
Mr. Mosley.
Are we at that point?
Yeah. we're gonna
Okay.
run over.
So the only thing that I would ask that the residents consider, even if we're moving towards the comprehensive plan, we still do have to figure out how to get there. From an administrative standpoint, I had Bill write a letter that that we submitted to St. Margaret Mary to be the first right to refusal for that property. It did land in the right spot. So that means that's part of the comprehensive plan. That's why I see you scrunching your face up, but that's part of the comprehensive plan to maybe secure St. Margaret Mary. And so we're moving both and. But what I'm trying to accomplish or help you to see is that if you can actually stabilize the building, it might actually yield us benefit because we would be able to sell it. If we only tear the building down with the inability to put grant money towards it, we have left ourselves with a larger bill, and then we have to move away from that property anyway. And so there's a way to accomplish the comprehensive plan with the least amount of financial impact. That's why the building wasn't designated thereafter, because even if we only got to the point of stabilization and then we sold it, it would be more profitable than just tearing it down and left with the bill. That is not an opinion. We asked them to give us the first right of refusal. And so if they were to consider selling the property, then whatever portion or in entirety, whichever comes first, a first right of refusal is saying that, hey, if you decide to sell, then can you ask us first? And so then there's just been so much information. No, not yet. We did not get a response. No one was trying to abandon the comprehensive plan. I sat on council when we pushed the comprehensive plan through. It's a good plan. It is the city administration's responsibility to look at that plan as a guidebook, as moving steps forward. But we don't want to damage our city financially just because we want to tear a building down. And that is not an opinion. Those are real hard, tangible numbers. I can guarantee you, Mr. Dieters was looking at earlier today, the amount from 2012, it was to just tear half of the building down. And then there is some conditioning that would have to be done to the land to even make it buildable once it's torn down. And so there's a, I mean, you want to?
No. So we didn't want to hold you past 8 o'clock.
I do have a quick question, just because I was scorched face, wondering who we were talking to a second ago. So my question being is, we talk about, we only got so many people in this audience, but yet these are all people who live here and they do care about our city. And we talk about how there was a survey, but it was only a very small part of the city. I do know that you have put out a mayor's newsletter that goes to every person in the city. And I still have it on next to my chair at home, and we peruse it because it's hard to read it sometimes all at one time. Sometimes you gotta read it in bits. What I'm saying is, let's stop pointing fingers and let's do something. So I challenge everybody at that table. Why don't you put out, you have all the addresses, put out something to every person in North College Hill, a survey, and let's get what everybody wants, instead of saying, oh, we only have 1%, or we only was able to reach a fraction. So I challenge you guys, you're talking about you want to do something, then do it. Instead of, just like the school says, give results, not excuses. So let's put out the survey to everybody in the mayor's newsletter.
Okay, thank you, Ms. I don't have a problem with it going out, but it has to be collaborated. It has to be something that's a collaboration.
Can you take what Ms. Gaston-Berg,
Yeah, I don't.
collaborate with the council together without.
That's what collaboration between.
No hard, I'm not putting you on the pressure, on the time limit, but because this is something that we don't want to lose by December 31st of 2025, can you let us know the hard date of when you?
I can't give you a hard date today because we're looking at timelines. You're talking about a decision needs to be made. And for those of you who don't know, council is responsible for buildings. It's in our charter. They're responsible for the buildings. So we can only do what they come back to us and say, hey, can you research this? Can you look into this? Then the legislation comes into place and it goes back into their court. They can even. But what I'm saying, even with the survey, we're not going to be able to produce. I mean, council will have to go back. That's up to them to say, hey, we're going to pay for it because it's not in the budget for it to go out. So we need a creative way or to come up with something to say, hey, this can go out to the citizens this way. So I'm not opposed to a survey, but it would have to be a collaborated survey, not just.
And I would like to say with the survey results, you all want accountability and tangible numbers. But then when I propose that 1.4%, even if that is the right calculation, is not a true representation, you're frustrated. I don't understand that. Any survey.
I would have liked for the survey to be put in the newsletter.
But it didn't get in there.
But it didn't, that's okay. And that's okay. The second time, we had a conversation, the three of us, and some people who are not here had a conversation. So it's, to talk about the 1% is irrelevant at this point.
Yes, but then you are also, if you're going to take that into consideration, I also talked to you very candidly about the structure of the survey. So you can't say, I didn't put the survey out or Mayor didn't put the survey out in the newsletter. When you were given the opportunity to reroute the survey, you were also given feedback on how to put together a survey that spanned it across a broad scan of people, and you didn't want to do that. So then when I didn't put the survey, and I'm not the only person that made the decision, but for sake of being accountable, when it didn't get in, you were frustrated. But there was a lot of conversation and feedback given to you to help reshape the survey in a more appropriate way.
Well, okay, it's really not, that's a private conversation between them, and they're bringing it up here.
I just think
And
it's really
so,
important. If you put a survey out, you have to be very transparent about what you're asking someone, right? So you're like, okay, so if we do this, this is the cost, and this is what it's going to look like. If we do this is what it's going to cost and look like. And
So,
right, and
I'll
and
take
that's the
this
thing.
last question, and then we'll end.
I learned something tonight, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Stabilizing, I didn't understand, but now I understand better. What would it entail to do a side-by-side, cost-effective thing versus tearing the building down versus whatever is proposed by stabilizing it?
I think the difficult thing with that is you have to know what your ultimate end game is going to be with the building, right? So like if you're moving the police department in and you're doing classrooms and all that, but I think you could easily say stabilizing the building to the point that you can get administration back in as a, right, you could probably do that. Yeah.
Understand it better, what's going on, instead of having just the meager, whatever percentage we have here tonight. Maybe more people would get involved and have ideas. There has to be a way, and I'm not attacking anybody here, to get a decision on this.
But the decision goes both ways. A lot of information has been presented, and some information is required that you overprove, whereas then some information is less reliable, and then it's being taken as fact.
Well, then why don't we make a decision, or council, mayor, send it out one last time to the citizens of North College Hill. This is this, we're gonna make a decision. This has been going on, I mean, like you said, we need to make a
8
decision
years.
by the end of the year. Else we'll lose money.
Okay.
You know, it's sad that poor people don't get involved with North College Hill. There's only just this little 1%. Even surveys do not hold any validity because there's only 100 people answering.
Answering a question.
That doesn't represent North College Hill. I know, I just,
Thank you, Ms. Flicker.
I don't know what, you know.
With that,
Mayor, just one more.
Ms. Chichester?
I just want to say, do I need to go to the podium? I just want to just
Yeah.
talk about when it comes to the attendance. I personally walked around at every business taking town hall flyers. We've all shared it on social media. I went around the different, being out in the community, handing it out to residents. Hey, are you a resident of North College Hill? We have a town hall on Monday. We have a town hall on Monday. I don't know what else we can do to get people present, so.
Nobody gets involved.
Right,
We're
so.
a transient city, don't forget that. We are a transient, so there's a lot of movement in and a lot of movement out.
Well,
But when we think about this, let's not consider the people who
I
are
thought we
here
not-
and invested. I can't think about I can't grab everybody, but the people who are present, who remain till 8:10 on a school night, work night, consider what they've said in council.
No one's discrediting anything, anyone.
Alrighty.
No one said that.
So-
I said, we don't know what we can do to get the numbers up. No one discredited or said anything about dismissing anybody's thoughts or comments. I didn't even speak on that.
Thank you, Ms. Chichester.
Thank you.
The chief, I think,
Not on social media. That's right. I am not on social media.
Me either.
No platform whatsoever. I didn't know anything about this town hall until today. I didn't see a flyer, I haven't seen a mailer, I haven't seen anything. And I don't find out about anything about North College Hill.
I got it.
Somebody tells me something, because I'm not on social media.
And we have to do better as
okay, thank you. All right, everybody, I appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you for your time this evening. Have a wonderful evening.